Hello, everyone. Walk Hill Bethelite here. And I want to talk a little bit about the strategic value of having the moral high ground while fighting for a cause, such as ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. We're fighting for a cause, you could say. A person can make a statement, and that statement can be factually correct. However, if that person is fighting for a cause, they want people to get behind them. They want people to be moved by actions. A person can make a statement on television, for example, and I could say, you know what, they're factually correct, change the channel, and what they said never enter my mind again. But I agreed that they were factually correct. Well, if this person is fighting for a cause and needs people behind them, they want more. They want people to be galvanized into action. Meaning they, to a certain extent, want people to emotionally invest in what you're saying and be moved to action. Let me take, for example, the situation with Will Smith and Chris Rock. Now, Will Smith, I'm not saying Will Smith is fighting for a cause per se, but let's just look at the situation. Chris Rock made fun of Will Smith's wife. Now, Will Smith's wife, from my understanding, has a physical condition where she has hair loss. Chris Rock said, well, Jada, I look forward to seeing you in the new G.I. Jane movie, saying that she would be a good G.I. character with her baldness. Well, here's the thing about that. Will Smith got up on the stage and slapped Chris Rock. The whole situation, you can look at it on YouTube. If you look it up, it'll show you the video. Now, here's my point. If Will Smith would have from his seat yelled out at Chris Rock, "Keep my wife's name out of your mouth." And if you watch the video, you'll see what I mean. If Will Smith would have yelled out from his seat, "Keep my wife's name out your mouth," and the tears that we saw when he got up to get his award, if those same tears was coming down his face, if the uncomfortable feeling his wife had was visible, meaning Will Smith yells, "Keep my wife's name out your mouth," the tears are coming down, everybody sees it's hurting him, it's hurt Jada. Oh man, Will Smith would have just galvanized the entire media, would have been all on Chris Rock for that joke. Everyone would have been all on Chris Rock for that joke. Or I should say, more people would have been moved to indignation because of the joke Chris Rock made, because of their emotion. Now, Will Smith was just as factually accurate that another man should not be on stage talking about his wife when he slapped him. He was just as factually correct when he slapped him. But the problem of Will Smith not being able to keep Chris Rock's cheek face meat out of the palm of his hand is that slap took over the whole conversation. That slap took everybody's attention off the cause of Jada has got some kind of physical condition and people shouldn't make fun of that physical condition. That's all gone now. Now it's a drama now. Now everybody's focused on the slap. The slap where Chris Rock, for whatever reason, had another man whose wife you just made fun of coming towards him, and Chris Rock's physical stance was to put his hands behind his back, stick his face out. I mean, it's a whole nother discussion as to whether or not Chris Rock was asking to get slapped by standing there with his face stuck out, hands behind his back, while Will Smith is walking towards him. It's like, dude, put your hands up and get ready to fight. Bob and weave, move back, do something. But don't stick your neck and face out to give Will Smith open slap radius of your cheek meat. People are laughing about it. This has taken over the whole discussion. Think about what I'm saying here is Will Smith would have been more powerful than the slap. If Will Smith from his seat would have taken the moral high ground of, I'm not going to go up there and physically assault Chris Rock. I'm going to, from my seat, stand for what's right and state, keep my wife's name out of your mouth without all the F-bombs and everything. I'm going to state, keep my wife's name out your mouth. The tears are coming down. Jada's right next to me, consoling me, and she's looking uncomfortable with the situation. Everyone would have buried Chris Rock. The cause would have been won. Nobody else would have been able to state anything about Jada without the full brunt of the media and everybody attacking him. But since Will did not take the moral high ground, went up there and slapped the black off of him, well, now people don't feel as bad about it. They're just laughing because Chris Rock got slapped. Think about how dangerous of a situation. Now let's bring this to XJWs. Think about how dangerous a situation it was when I went to Bethel. And I'm not saying I'm better than anybody or anything like that, but I am stating that when I went to Bethel and was treated any old kind of way, put out, boxes stacked up in my car, nobody cared whether or not, I had money or I had food, and Bethel's, matter of fact, charging me for the little food I brought with me to have something to eat while I'm in the car trying to figure out where to go after they just tossed me out. Think about how dangerous that was, because Marcus, throughout his whole Jehovah's Witness career, had never been reproved, never been disfellowshipped. Marcus wasn't sleeping around. Marcus wasn't drinking alcohol and taking drugs. Marcus wasn't doing any of those things. Marcus was doing exactly what Watchtower told him to do. Get baptized, auxiliary pioneer, regular pioneer, become a ministerial servant, apply for Bethel service. Marcus is doing exactly what Watchtower told him to do. Goes to Bethel, takes the same car he used driving all over creation, passing out watchtowers, driving my car all over creation for Watchtower, drove that same car all the way to New York, which is like 10 hours. Eventually the car breaks down and then Watchtower doesn't want to touch it and just leaves me by myself. It's the moral standing. I wasn't just joyriding all over the place with my car. That wasn't why there was wear and tear. The wear and tear on the car was from field service. I didn't drive anywhere but work and service. So the moral standing I had put Watchtower in a situation. That's going to galvanize people. People are going to become emotional. Wait a minute. Why don't y'all help him with his car? He's been using it for you. What do you mean you're not going to help him, at least with the instructions, when you got a whole auto shop at Bethel full of people who know how to work on cars? You could at least instruct him on what to do. They completely left me on my line. I'm not going to help you at all. I don't care. It's the moral grounding matters. Because this is now going to upset people. After Marcus gives up on all the different things Marcus could be doing, could be enjoying, could be working for money and buying all the food and fried chicken he wants. Now Marcus has got to sit and wait for a particular day when they have fried chicken. And even on that day, a good portion of the time, they run out. Because it's a good meal and everybody invites their whole family and tours and everybody else for fried chicken day, and they end up running out. It's the moral grounding that when Marcus gets back to Dayton, Ohio, after having been used by the organization and then just spat out, that no one could look at Marcus and say he was a sexual deviant, he was an alcoholic, he was violent. Nobody could look at Marcus and say he was reproved for this or that. Only thing they could do is say he is 100% right. Bethel should not have treated someone that did so much for them like that. That is the reason why when I got back to Dayton, Ohio, no elder, nobody wanted to touch it. They didn't want to touch it. However, had I been up at Bethel having sex with these guys' wives, even though I told you guys about the woman who was sitting right next to her husband and rubbing her legs all up and down mine, even though she wanted sex, Marcus did not have sex with this man's wife, because had I done that, and then after that, Bethel packed boxes so high into my car because they didn't care, I couldn't see through my window. I couldn't see through my back window. I couldn't look through my rear view mirror and see, so I'm sticking my head out my window just to back up. If they would have done that to me then, it still would have been wrong. But I wouldn't have the moral standing to where people feel it's wrong or feel upset. It's almost like having a toy car, right? And I got a toy car, and yes, it's a toy car. It is what I say it is. It's a toy car, but I need batteries in that bad boy. I need power in that bad boy to make it move, to make it go. It's the same with these causes, in my opinion, is, yeah, factually, Bethel was wrong in what they did. But had Marcus gave in and slept with these men's wives who wanted to sleep with me, if Marcus would have slept with these men's wives, there would have been no power behind my statements. When I got back home to Dayton, Ohio, and said Bethel did this, that, the third, and it was wrong, nobody would have had any emotional investment in anything I said, even if it would have been factually right. See what I'm saying? So because Marcus hadn't done anything wrong, Marcus done invested his whole life into Watchtower, and Watchtower could have treated him better. Watchtower could have gave him a meal first and then sent him away. Watchtower could have stacked his boxes on the floor or in the trunk, or at least put a little bit of effort other than throwing the boxes in my car and then leaving. Watchtower could have treated Marcus better, and I was not only factually right that Watchtower could have treated Marcus better, and sure enough should not have been trying to send me a bill for a meal I should have gotten anyway. I should have gotten a meal anyway. But since they didn't give me one, anybody with common sense is going to stop by the commissary and grab an apple or two and something to drink, so I don't freaking pass out in the car driving for hours trying to figure out where to go. That's just common sense. I should have gotten a meal anyway. So why are you going to bill me for food you should have gave me when you're not billing nobody else that had a meal that day? Right? Commissary, you're supposed to get billed for commissary because you were given a meal but chose not to have the meal and chose something different. That's the concept behind charging a Bethelite for commissary. Is we prepared dinner for you for free. You didn't have to pay for it, but you chose not to eat this. Maybe you didn't like it. You wanted to go get something else, so you have to pay for that. Marcus wasn't given a meal. Marcus was just told to get out. So since I wasn't given the option to have a meal, the fruit that I got in the fruit juice should have been free because they should have given me a meal anyway. They're wrong. They were wrong. Morally, the moral standing that they have matters because they didn't have one. They don't have a reason for having charged me for a meal they should have gave me anyway. Not to mention, it is specifically cruel to take a Bethelite you know does not have any money and put him out and not offer to feed them. How is that Christian? That's what was so dangerous about when Marcus got back to Dayton, Ohio from Bethel, because of the moral standing and how upset it would have made everybody. That's why even though elders would come over and talk to me, they weren't going to announce nothing at no Kingdom Hall about Marcus is wrong. And even when I started working so much that I was missing meetings, they weren't about to make no announcements talking about Marcus was wrong because of the moral standing. They didn't have it. Marcus was right. Marcus didn't have any money because of all of what he gave to the organization, and look at how the organization treated him. So who are we to then tell him he should not be focusing on his well-being and his finances when Bethel could care less? Bethel's just tossing people out. So if Watchtower don't care, then somebody has to care. Somebody's got to go to work. Somebody's got to make money. You know what I mean? So it was the moral standing that I had. And at the time I was not, I was in the process of waking up, right? So since I was in a process of waking up, I wasn't flat out saying Jehovah's Witnesses' doctrine was wrong. I was saying Bethel's actions was wrong. Watchtower had nothing on me. They had nothing to respond with. I wasn't awake yet. All I was saying, Watchtower was wrong. Now I have to make money to make up for all this time I wasted doing all this for Watchtower, where Watchtower did not value me as a person at all. Everything that I said was accurate, just as accurate as it would have been had I slept with these people's wives who wanted to sleep with me. Man, it was some fine women and they wanted to sleep with me. And I had all that sexual frustration built up from being at Bethel and not having had sex in a long, you know what I mean? And let's say I've been at Bethel for 2-3 years. No sex for 2-3 years. And these men's wives were rubbing their legs up and down mine. If I would have gave in, I probably would have broke this woman's back. But Marcus held himself back, showed restraint, showed concern for how the organization would have been viewed, concern with the husband, how he would have felt, concern with the wife, how it would have affected her. I'm concerned about people, so I don't do things like that. Bethel was not concerned about people at all. So when Marcus got back home to Dayton, Ohio from Bethel, can you believe this? Marcus had the moral high ground and Jehovah's Witnesses had the moral low ground. That's why nothing happened. That's why to this day, Marcus was never disfellowship approved or anything, because at the time they didn't have anything. They didn't have nothing but that they were wrong. So their way of dealing with that was to not deal with it. Was not to deal with it. Don't bring it up. Don't try to reprove him. Don't try to disfellowship him. Just let him fade. So my fading was a mutual fading. My situation was very unique in that most people, when they fade, they're trying to essentially slowly, without anybody noticing, back away from the organization so that the organization doesn't respond to them backing out. With Marcus, it was mutual. The organization wanted me to back out. I needed to make money. That was the job that I got. I wasn't about to give up a job again for Watchtower when I knew Watchtower could care less. It was mutual. It was, okay, Marcus has not been to meetings for a while. And them elders are thinking, man, if he just, kind of disappears, we don't have to deal with how wrong Bethel was and how they treated him. We don't have to deal with Jehovah's Witnesses were 100% wrong and this person is 100% right and we have no moral grounding to say otherwise. And if this gets out all throughout Dayton, Ohio, of what happened to him, everybody's going to be mad. Everybody's going to be upset. How are we going to deal with this? Moral standing matters because it galvanizes, it emotionally charges. Remember the batteries in that car where without the batteries, you do have a toy car. You're factually right, but it ain't going nowhere. The emotional effect when a person is morally right and is treated wrong, that galvanizes, motivates people. Imagine a person assaulting a gang member, physically attacking a gang member, and is in court. People look at it and they're like, yeah, he was wrong. You shouldn't attack anybody, regardless of if it's a gang member or not. You shouldn't attack anybody. Imagine the exact same person physically assaulting a nun. I'm talking about, she's got the whole nun outfit. She's got the big cross. And he goes up and physically assaults a woman who, for her whole life, dedicated it to serving God. People would want the guy executed. People would be emotionally galvanized. They would be emotionally charged. They would be, as far as a cause, she won hands down because of the moral grounding she had. Nobody should be getting assaulted, but this woman is a nun. This emotionally charges us. You don't do that. Or what if he would have assaulted a child? Emotionally, we're affected. We're charged up. You don't do that. right? You're wrong for attacking the gang, but if you do that to a child, that's what I'm saying is people, it's more powerful. Your message, the XJW message, I think is more powerful when people have that moral high ground, even if they don't have it, they're still factually accurate. Comment down below, let me know what you think. But this is the reason why when people ask me about Bethel and how did people respond to you when you got back from Bethel talking about all this, they couldn't respond. They could not. They had no moral grounds to do anything to me. Everything I was saying was right. Plus I had the moral ground to where if they would have made it a big deal, let's say for a whole congregation, they made this a big deal, the congregation would have took my side. They couldn't have done anything. Comment down below. Let me know what you think. X Wall Kill Bethelite signing out.